Hello everyone, it's me Uncle John. Today I am going to read S4 4059 Nate the Great and the Monster Math by Marjorie Weinman Charmat. Chapter 1 Dracula, Frankenstein, and Werewolves. My name is Nate the Great. I'm a detective. My dog Sludge is a detective too. Today, Sludge and I had big plans. To do nothing. Suddenly, I saw something. There was a note under the door of my room. It was written in scribbles. I knew it was from my mother. She scribbles when she's in a hurry. I read it. Nate the Great, dear Nate the Great, I lost my recipe for monster cookies. It's on a long piece of paper. I looked inside the house. Now I must look outside. When I find the paper, I'll be back. Love you, Mother. I love those monsters, I said to Sludge. Strawberry Dracula, chocolate Frankenstein, cinnamon werewolves. My mother hates the werewolves, but she bakes them for me anyway. I must find that recipe. I, Nate the Great, had never solved the case for my mother. My mother knew where everything was until now. We will look inside, I said. Perhaps my mother did not look everywhere in the house. I, Nate the Great, liked this case. I could stay home. I wouldn't have to see Rosamond or her 4 cats. I wouldn't have to see Annie's dog Fang. I could make as many pancakes as I wanted. Chapter 2, the long and short of it. Sludge and I went to the kitchen. My mother kept her recipes there. Each short recipe was written on one side of a card. Each long recipe was written on one side of a long piece of paper. The cards were in one pile. The papers were in another. My mother liked the cards. They were all neat and clean. She did not like the papers. They were crinkled, wrinkled, and stained with food. The pile of papers was a mess, and it was huge, but I, Nate the Great, had to look for monster cookies. The recipe should be easy to find, I said to Sludge. It's the only one with drawings of werewolves. Dozens and dozens of werewolves, all crossed out. My mother has never seen a werewolf she likes. I spread every sheet on the floor. I found recipes for foods I had never eaten and would never want to eat. Like squash slosh, I found great names like chocolate bombs and pecan plops. I found scribbled names that I had never heard of, like Lampan. There was nothing listed under that one. And fig pot fizzle, nothing was listed under that either. There were more pages with scribbled names. Maybe the recipes would be added later. I, Nate the Great, couldn't find monster cookies. Chapter 3, One Big Math. It was time to think. I made some pancakes. I gave Sludge a bone. We ate and thought. I knew that my mother had made monster cookies for a week. Today she had discovered that the recipe was gone, so the recipe might have been missing for a week, or less than a week. I turned to Sludge. We'll look in every nook and cranny of this house. The card is for my mother. Sludge and I looked, sniffed. Sludge and I looked, sniffed, climbed up, bent down, knocked things over, pulled things out, pushed things around. We crumbled stuff, we jumbled stuff. Nothing, I, Nate the Great, said there is a big clue missing in this case. The clue is my mother. We have to find her and ask her questions. Sludge and I walked toward the front door. Ouch, we stumbled over the mess we had made. We will clean this up when we get back, I said. Chapter 4, Tasty in Lemon. We went outside. Think about where my mother would go. I said, Sludge, sat down. No, don't sit and think. Walk and think, I said. Suddenly I knew why Sludgy had sat down. Fang was up ahead with Annie. I went up to Annie. I'm looking for my mother. I said, or her recipe for monster cookies. Have you seen either one? I saw your mother 3 days ago, Annie said. She said hello. Then she looked at Fang. She kept staring at him. Then she took a long piece of paper out of a pocketbook and wrote something down. She said the Fang would be tasting lemon. What did that mean? You don't want to know, I said. Chapter 5, The Best Follow. Sludge and I walked on. Maybe my mother is adding Fang to a list of tasty monsters, I said. I can hardly wait to eat him, but that does not help us find my mother. Sludge turned around. Where are you going? I asked. Sludge led the way to Oliver's house. Oliver lives next door. Oliver is a pest. Oliver follows people. Oliver follows animals. Oliver follows the world. Oliver was in his yard. Oliver, I said, did you follow my mother today? Your mother went out today? Oliver said, oh, phew, I missed her. Your mother is a great fellow. She goes to good places like the fish store. Oliver collects eels. He likes anything fish. Oliver, I said, did you follow my mother this week? Yeah, 3 days ago was my favorite follow of the month. Where did she go? Oliver looked proud. He opened the box. He took out a card. I know who I follow. And when I follow them, and where they go, he said. I have a card for everybody. Let's see. Nate the Great's mother, Thursday, 2 p.m. She spoke to Annie. She looked at Fang, took a long piece of paper out of a pocketbook. She scribbled something on it. Was probably her grocery list. She went to the supermarket next. She looked at the paper. Then she took a jar of cinnamon from a shelf. She stared at the jar. She put it back. She bought chocolate, strawberries, and a lemon. A lemon? I said. Was she really going to make lemon Fang cookies? What happened next? I asked. She went to the fish store, Oliver said. She took more long papers from a pocketbook, looked at them, and bought lots of fish. I said. More long paper. They couldn't be grocery list. There must have been recipes. At the fish store for fish dishes, at the supermarket for monster cookies. What did she do? What did she do next? I don't know, Oliver said. I had to go home and feed my eels. I must go to the fish store, I said. I must follow you, Oliver said. I know it, I said. Chapter 6, Something Fish. Sludge and I walked to the fish store. Oliver followed us. Rosamond and her 4 cats were there. Rosamond was buying tuna. Here, she said to the man behind the counter. Some put paper to wrap my tuna in. You wrapped my fish in it 2 months ago, but the other side hasn't been used. Just turn the paper over and use the other side. The paper was stained, rumpled and crumpled. And smelly. The man made a face, but he wrapped the tuna in the paper. I recycle everything, Rosamond said, but the fish paper is the best. Nate the Great was disgusted to hear that. I went up to Rosamond. I did not want to do that. Have you seen my mother or her recipe for monster cookies? I asked. Rosamond looked mad. I saw your mother a few minutes ago. She asked me if I had seen her recipe. Now you are asking me questions. You always ask me questions. From now on, I will charge you for my answers. Charge. Rosamond was strange. Now I, Nate the Great, had to be even stranger. From now on, I, Nate the Great, will charge you for my questions, I said. Rosamond shrugged. Okay, no charge, she said. The answer is that I haven't seen your mother's recipe and I don't know where she went after I saw her. But that you wanted money? I said. Rosamond hugged her tuna package. Well, when I answer your questions, I have to think hard. I have to breathe harder. My toes tingle. My cats get hungry. It was time to leave. Sludge, Oliver, and I went outside. Oliver took out a card and scribbled something on it. It was just the way my mother scribbled the show recipes on her cards. Sludge snipped the card. Was it thinking what I was thinking? Chapter 7. Crossed out werewolves. Sludge and I rushed home. We have solved the case, I said. I opened the front door. We tripped. Well, we'll clean up soon, I said, but first we have to use our clues. We know that my mother had the recipe when she went to the supermarket 3 days ago. She almost bought cinnamon there, but she didn't. My mother really hates cinnamon werewolves, so she must have decided not to bake them anymore. And that meant she didn't need all those crossed out werewolves. I made the grade say that without them, the monster cookies recipe was short enough to write on a card. So when my mother got home, she copied the recipe from the piece of paper onto a card. She threw out the paper, then she forgot that the recipe is now on a card. I went to the pile of cards. I thumbed through them first. I knew I would find monster cookies. Sludge wagged his tail. He knew it too. I looked once, I looked twice, I looked 3 times. Sludge stopped wagging. The recipe is not on a card, I said. I should have known that my mother knows what she's looking for. A long piece of paper. I opened the cupboard. There was plenty of cinnamon. My werewolves was safe. We have to keep looking for my mother, I said. Chapter 8, the right place. Sludge and I rushed to the door. Thud, bum, thump. We fell down. We will clean up this place soon, I said. Sludge was tired of hearing that. We sat there. It's hard working being a detective. I have to think about what I'm looking for and who I'm working for. I'm working for my mother. I know that she doesn't lose things. She puts things in the right place. The right place for that recipe was with the other red papers. She must have put it there 3 days ago, so why wasn't it there? Sludge didn't know, neither did I. Nate the Great. What was important in this case? Was it important that my mother had scribbled something on a long piece of paper after she saw Fang? Was it important that she bought chocolate, strawberries, a lemon, and lots of fish? Fish couldn't have anything to do with the monster cookies. Still, there was a clue at the fish store. I, Nate the Great, felt it in my bones and up my nose. It has something to do with Rosamond's fish paper. Chapter 9, a scribble among scribble. Get up, I said to Sludge. We have the clues we need. Fish paper and lemon. Sludge and I made our way back to the kitchen. I looked at the papers spread over the floor. I found the sheet that had Lempan scribbled on it. The paper was stained, wrinkled, and crinkled, just like Rosamond's fish paper, because it had already been used on the other side to make cookies. I turned the paper over, and Nate the Great read what I knew I would read. Monster cookies, there it was, how to make strawberry Dracula, chocolate Frankensteins, and cinnamon werewolves. This case is solved, I said. Here's what happened. My mother had some recipes with her when she saw Annie and Fang. She scribbled a note to buy lemon on the back of the monster cookies recipe. Lempan, short for lemon fang cookies. After she shopped and came home, she put the recipes back on the pile. But because she had scribbled on the back of the monster cookies recipe, it was turned down instead of up. The next couple of days, my mother used out the recipe from the pile. Pile became very messy. Was ready to make the cookies. 들어가 있으면 녹음하고 있거든. There it was, how to make. Wait a minute. Went to the pile. She was in a hurry. She thumbed through lots of recipes and scribbled, like Lempan, a scribble among scribbles. My mother passed it by, just the way I did. If the paper had been blank, we'd have known it was the wrong sign. I let the Grace say that in this case, nothing would have been better than something. I heard the front door open. I clutched the monster cookie recipe. I had a big surprise to show my mother. I heard a scream. Was glad that I did not hear a thud or a bump or a thump. Sludge looked scared. I let the Grace know knew that I had one more surprise for my mother than I wanted. Sludge and I were very busy for the rest of the day. The end.